Hello, welcome or welcome back to the Yarn and Yarns YouTube channel. My name is Angela and all the places you can find me should be linked in the description box below this video. Here on the channel you'll find me chatting about my adventures in knitting, spinning, crochet and weaving, all of the fibre related things. Today's video is one of my 12 cast-ons making vlogs. If you're new to the channel and you're unaware of the 12 cast-ons, it's a make-along that I host at the end of each year going into the beginning of the following year, where I cast on 12 new projects to set myself up for my coming weeks, months, years worth of making. I've been doing this for the last several years, and over the last few, the lovely Yarn and Yarns community have been joining in, and we have a cast-on party in December and January, and then we have a year-long make-along. There's plenty of videos over on the Yarn and Yarns YouTube channel, and there's a couple of playlists specifically dedicated to the 12 cast-ons if you want to find out more. So it is November 2024 as I'm recording this. It's November the 1st. I'm about to start a new set of projects. So each month I set myself a list of priority making things that I want to try and concentrate on in the coming weeks. So I'm going to be working this month on my Sionnach Mitts, and this is how far I got on the first day of cast-ons back in January, and haven't picked these up since. So this is a beautiful pattern which has a fox head on the back of the mitt. So I'm fairly confident that these will be a really quick knit. I know it's going to be a fun pattern to work on, and yeah, I just haven't had the opportunity to get back to it yet. So I'm hoping this will be off the needles this month. I'm sure I can knit a pair of fingerless mitts in a month. I mean, obviously they're not the only thing I'm going to be working on, but yeah, I'm pretty confident I can do this. She says. I'm using two beautiful yarns. The natural grey oatmeal colour that you can see is from YarnNYarns, which is a locally Welsh produced yarn, and I am pairing that with some John Arbon Harvest Hues yarns, which is the sort of rusty orange brown colour, and that one was gifted to me by my lovely friend Mandy, and it's been in my stash for a little while. It was just waiting for the perfect project to come along, and these mitts were that perfect project. This is my starting point. I've knit obviously the cuff of one mitt, got no further than that on my first day of knitting, so yeah, we'll see what the coming weeks bring. This weekend, the first weekend in November, we're actually going to be doing a fair amount of travel. There's not going to be a huge amount of knitting time. I'm going off to Northamptonshire in England to celebrate the birthday of one of our dearest friends. So I shall be driving across to Northamptonshire tomorrow, which is about a 3-ish hour drive if the traffic's okay. We'll be going to a party tomorrow night, and then on Sunday we're going to visit James's grandpa who lives in the same area, so that will be most of our day on Sunday, and then I'll be driving back Sunday afternoon, evening. There's not going to be a huge amount of time for knitting, but I'm hoping there'll be a little bit of downtime in our hotel between arriving and having to go out to the party. So I am going to take this project with me, a nice small project, 2 balls of yarn. Like I say, I don't think there's going to be a huge opportunity for me to knit this weekend, so I don't want to take too much stuff with me, but I feel like this will be a good one. This is literally everything I need in this gorgeous project bag by Emma of Eldenwood Craft, so I can throw that in the back of the car and it's not going to take up too much space. Hello, it is a couple of weeks since I checked in for this vlog, and I've barely touched these mitts. I think I might have recorded a teeny tiny amount of footage of me knitting in our hotel room when we went away to visit our friends, and I managed to add just a few rows to these mitts, so you can see the bottom of the sort of fox face is starting to appear now. But I haven't had the opportunity to touch this project since then. It's been a stressful couple of weeks here, both work-wise and family-wise. I haven't really progressed any of my November projects in the way that I'd hoped, but having said that, this was literally like an hour's worth of knitting, so I'm still hopeful that I can get these finished. How exciting this vlog is going to be, I don't know. I'm not really in the mood or the headspace to kind of go out and about and share things. I don't know. Maybe this vlog will never see the light of day. We shall see, we shall see. It's Saturday as I'm recording this, so my plan is to, what is my plan? I haven't really thought about it, but I think I'd like to try and work towards getting the first knit finished, which I think is going to be relatively doable. I'm about halfway up the colourwork chart for the face of this fox. Maybe rather than set that as a today goal, I might set that as a weekend goal to try and get the first of these mittens finished. Hey lovely friends, well, as often is the case here, it's confession time. It's Monday the 27th of January 2025, and I believe the last time I recorded for this vlog was back November last year, so a few months ago, and I very confidently proclaimed that I'd have a finished pair of mitts by the end of the month. Well, of course that didn't happen. Life got in the way. We had a very hectic family year last year, and I think this year is set to be the same, but maybe in a slightly different way. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. It's early on a Monday morning. I think last time I checked in, I was more or less at this point in the first mitt. I've started the increases for the thumb gusset, but yeah, I'm still on mitt number 1. Yesterday, I finished my final cast on for this year's 12 cast ons 2025 version. Obviously this project is from 2024. Instead of doing February making plans this year, because I've still got quite a few videos to edit and upload for the 12 cast ons, I've decided I'm just going to spend February randomly picking from my works in progress. So I've written myself a numbered list of most of my works in progress, and every 3 days I've decided I'm going to do a random number generator to pick one of those projects to work on. I did a random number generator this morning, and the first number that popped up was number 17, and that happened to have been assigned to the Sionnach Mitts. So a nice small project for me to start with. Now, as I say, I'm going to swap these projects out every 3 days, but I'm going to try and make as much progress as I can. Now, it is a work week for me, so most of my knitting will be done in the evenings. It's quite good, I think, that one of the small projects came up for my next few evenings. I will be taking this to work as well. I've decided I'm going to take it in today and see if I can add a few rows to my lunch break, figure out where I am in the pattern, and make a little progress that way as well. So yeah, we shall see. We shall see what happens over the next few days, and hopefully I'll have a reasonable amount of progress to share with you. Please excuse my tired face. It feels like it's been the longest Monday ever. But I thought I would check in at the end of day 1 of my little 3-day challenge of knitting on these mitts and share with you what I managed to get done today. And I managed to make some good progress. I did do a little bit of lunch break knitting, which you might have seen a teeny tiny little bit of footage of. I managed to only add 4 or 5 rows to this project. But since I've been home, I've also finished the colourwork chart, and I'm almost done with the mitt. I still have the ribbing on the thumb to go back and put in, and of course I need to go back and do duplicate stitch on the nose and the eyes of my first little fox, and of course cast off. Part of me was thinking about pushing through and trying to get this mitt finished today, but I'm really tired. I'm done with the day, so I shall leave that for tomorrow. And because I made a reasonable amount of progress today in a short amount of knitting time, I'm feeling quite motivated to maybe push on through and see if I can get these mitts finished in my little 3-day knitting challenge that I've set myself. But we'll see. 2 more work days ahead of me, so limited knitting time, but we can set these goals and hope that it motivates to get as much done as possible. I'm really loving the combination of these 2 yarns. Not sure if I've mentioned that in this vlog, the Cartrev yarn and the John Arbon Harvest Hues. Oh, they make for such a lovely squishy fabric, perfect for colour work. The only other thing I think to say about this as I was knitting, there is some long sections of knitting in the same colour yarn, so I have employed the ladder back jacquard technique in a couple of spots just to help me carry the yarns through those long stretches of one colour. But I've used that technique on a few projects now, so I'm fairly confident with it, and it's quite straightforward for me to just pop in the extra stitches needed for that as and when they're needed. So yeah, onwards and upwards with this project now, and we'll see what day 2 of my 3-day knitting challenge will bring. Day 2 on my little 3-day knitting challenge on these mitts has arrived. It's about 6 o'clock in the evening. I'm having a serious rethink on this project. I've just cast off mitt number 1, or at least the top ribbing, and I've been ruminating on this quite a lot overnight after I got to this point yesterday, and I've come to the realisation, or the decision, that this mitt's going to be too short for me as it is. I need to add some extra length. I want that rib, that top rib, to sit around my knuckles there, and as you can see, it's a good way off of doing that. I figured out I need to add between 6 and 8 rows, I think, to the main body of the mitt in order to push the height of this up, which should be quite easy. I'll just add some more plain rows above and below the fox motif. It does mean that I'm going to be ripping right back though. So the chances of me finishing these mitts in my little 3-day challenge has just jumped to 0. But that's okay, it'll be worth it to get these mitts right, and something that I will wear a lot more. If I leave them like this, I don't think I'm going to wear them as much as if I extend the length. I could just add more ribbing, but I think it would just put the sort of balance of the overall piece out, so I am going to go back. The other thing I'm not so keen on is that purl row between the cuff and the sort of main pattern of the mitt. When I'm moving my hand around, the knitting sort of sinks into a little ridge that creates. And while I initially thought that was aesthetically a nice detail, I'm just not really enjoying it. And maybe some of that would block out, and maybe it'd be less of an issue if I extend these, because I think it's like where the bottom of the fox is kind of almost disappearing into that ridge. And some of that would be taken care of if I extend those few rows before I start that motif. But I think if I'm ripping back, then I might just rip that row back as well and just do a plain knit row there to adapt this slightly. So yeah. 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Feels like more than 2 steps. It'll be worth it, I think, in the end. I'm about to start day 3 of my little challenge, 3-day challenge working on these mitts. I thought I'd share with you where I managed to get back to yesterday evening. So I'm about 2/3 of the way back up the colourwork chart again. It's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a Wednesday, so I don't work at my day job on a Wednesday. I've just done the onerous task of completing my tax return. So all of the things that I needed to do today have been done, which means I can now sit and knit. I'm thinking to set myself another little self challenge, because we're all about the self challenges here, as you might have guessed. If I can finish this mitt and get up to the cuff of the second mitt by the end of today, then instead of putting this away, I'll keep going. I will break my self-imposed rule of working on a project for 3 days, because it'd be really nice to get something finished, and I think that's doable. If I don't get as far as that, then I think I will put the project away and swap it out for something else. But after casting on so many new things in January, it'd be really nice to have a little win and get something finished. Wish me luck. So I did in fact manage to get to the wrist cuff on the second mitt, but I forgot to do an update on that. It's now Thursday and the day has dawned nice and bright and sunny. So although it is a working day for me, I decided to take a slightly extended lunch break. Luckily my work are quite flexible and bring my knitting down to the beach to work on glove number 2 for a little while. Not going to get too much done, but I just really wanted to sit in the sunshine for a little bit. So far this year there's been lots of grey and rainy days and not enough sitting on the beach and knitting. So I was really happy to have the opportunity to do this today, even though it was fairly chilly. It was just also really lovely. The second mitt just seemed to fly off of the needles. I guess it would, because I didn't have to re-knit it. I knew what I was doing for the second mitt before too long. I was ready to throw them in the water and to give them a little soak and block before I tackle the duplicate stitching on both of the mitts. Duplicate stitching is done. My mitts are finished. Yay! Oh, it's so nice to have a cast on finished. It feels like it's been a while, even though in reality it hasn't. I think because we're obviously now in 2025 and I made such a poor showing with getting my last year's projects off the needles, it feels like a really big win. Having said that, I'm feeling somewhat ambivalent about this project for various reasons. You know how often you finish something and it's your most favourite thing that you've ever made? Well, I don't really have that with these. I like these well enough. I think they're very cute. There's a couple of things obviously that I did different from the original pattern. So the original pattern has 3 colours, so there's a different colour down in this cuff chart, but I just wanted to use my 2 beautiful yarns that I'd picked out, the John Arbon Harvest Hues and the Cartref yarn. Obviously I changed the proportions of these slightly to make them a little bit longer. The other thing that I did is when it came to the duplicate stitching on the original pattern, there's a few highlights around the eyes and in the ears, but I couldn't find another non-superwash yarn in my stash that I liked against this fox colour, so I'm not putting those in at the minute. Of course I could go back and do that at some point in the future. There would be nothing stopping me doing that. I also noticed, I think it was on this glove, that when I'd finished and done the duplicate stitch, I was like, oh, I had an extra one of these sort of rusty browny orange stitches over here, so I just duplicate stitched over the top of that to hide that. And I hadn't noticed it up till that point. My duplicate stitching is okay. Not the best, but I've definitely had worse efforts at doing the duplicate stitch, and from a distance you can see the features on the face. I will say also, given that I knit these like the day after each other, my tension is quite a bit different. This fox head seems a fair bit bigger than this fox head, but I mean, no one's really gonna pay too much attention to that, I'm sure. I know, you know now because I've mentioned it, maybe you already spotted it, but I'm sure the average Joe won't notice. I think the main thing that's leaving me slightly ambivalent about these is they don't fit me as nicely as my Varia mitts. So the Varia mitts, I don't have them with me, but you'll have probably seen me, if you've followed the channel for any length of time, you'll have seen me wearing those time after time after time, because I live in those over the autumn and winter months, and they just have such a nice fit. But these, the sort of cuff keeps twisting round slightly, and then the fox face is trying to twist into my thumb. So yeah, I guess maybe the stitch count is just not quite right, or the thumb placement's not quite right, I don't know. They look okay like this, but as I'm sort of looking down at them, the one with the fox starts sort of twisting across. Maybe that will even itself out as I start to wear these, and I'm being very nitpicky here. I think it is just because I'm so in love with those Varia mitts that I wanted another pair exactly like that to kind of switch between. And I'm sure I will wear these so much. I will. As I say, I'm just being really nitpicky. I'm much happier now they're a little bit longer. I think maybe I could have added another couple of rows or two, even more. But then we get into the realms of, can you see what I mean about this fox in particular? It's just not quite sitting on the back of my hand nicely. I feel like I'm constantly moving these around to make them aesthetically pleasing. Which is daft, I know. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I feel like maybe I could have still added another couple of rounds. As I say, I'm being really nitpicky here. The pattern is really nice. I absolutely adore these two yarns together. I love how they look when I'm not wearing them, but I only just like how they look when I am wearing them. Does that make any kind of sense? I don't know. As I say, I'm just being super picky, really. They are cute, aren't they? I suspect they will grow on me. So, time to wrap up this video. I hope you have enjoyed following along my adventures of knitting these mitts. I'd love to know in the comments whether you have a pair of fingerless mitts that you just love the fit of, that you wear all the time, that are just your dream mitts. Have you come across your ideal mitt pattern? Let me know. I definitely want to knit a few more pairs of colourwork fingerless mitts because, as I say, I just wear my Varias all of the time. And it'll be nice to have a few pairs to swap in and out while I'm sort of washing the ones that are being worn. I managed to spill some tea on my Varias the other day, so I could definitely do with a couple of pairs to switch between in the autumn and winter months because, yeah, well, I'm just filthy. What can I say? Maybe I'm being a bit harsh on myself there. I don't think I'm totally filthy. I just like to wear and enjoy my hand knits. And of course, if you do that, things are going to get dirty from time to time. So yeah, let me know if you have any fingerless mitts, particularly colourwork patterns that you can recommend to me that I might be able to try out in the future. Other than that, just let me know what you have been working on, what you've finished, as this is a project vlog. What have you finished recently? I'd love to know. Thank you so much for watching. I will, of course, be back again soon with another video, some more making content. So I hope you will join me for the next one. But until we do get to spend time together again, I hope you get to do some other things that you enjoy. Great big woolly hugs to you all. Bye for now. Bye.